Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to set up your own WordPress theme. So a lot of people who use WordPress probably know WordPress as a really easy to use plug and play system where you can download a theme online or buy a theme, install it, change a couple of things up and launch your website. That's cool. Personally, I don't like that. I develop my themes myself. And I'm going to show you the basics of how to set up your own theme, and hopefully this will point you in the right direction to then maybe learning how to do even more advanced stuff. Let's get started. So basically I have a basic setup of WordPress on my local machine, and what I'm going to do is go into Appearance and Themes, and you'll notice we have 2017 theme installed. So that's just the standard WordPress theme. And we want to create our own theme. So obviously we want to see our theme here, which we can then activate. So let's go into our folder, into our WordPress folder, and go into our WP content. So I'll just start from the beginning. We're in the folder here. We go to WP content, we go to themes, and then you'll see 2017 there. And let's just create our new theme. So we'll just call it new theme. And this is basically just a blank folder. So I'm going to drag that folder into my code editor, and then I'm going to open it up in my code editor. So the first thing that we want to do is create an index.php file. And this is the basic file that WordPress needs just to even create or even load the theme. So we'll just add an index.php. We won't put anything into there. And then what we want to do is we want to create a new file called style.css. So style.css. And inside the style.css, we want to put theme name, and let's just call it test theme. And you don't want to put that semicolon at the end. Sublime Text seems to be doing it by itself. You can add some other information into here, like the author detail. So I'll just put author, Mr. Digital, and there are a couple of other things as well, but I'm just going to keep it really simple for you guys. And I'm just going to save that now. So if we now go into our WordPress installation and go into themes, we should then see test theme. Okay, and if we activate it, it's now activated. Let's delete the 2017 theme. Now we only have one theme, which is the test theme. And if we go to our main website to view it on the front end, it's just going to be blank. So in any theme, there are some core files which allow us to then edit facets of the theme. I'm just going to quickly remove this folder and re-add it, because by the looks of it, we can't see my files, and now I can. Okay, cool. So the first couple of files we want to create would be the header. So let's just save it header.php. So that's where you store your head and the start of your HTML tags. And then we'll create a new file and we'll call it footer.php, and that will be for the footer scripts and closing HTML and body tags. And then for the front page, if you want to have a specific template just for the front page, let's create one. It's called front-page.php. Okay, and then for a standard default page on your website, we'll just call it, well, it's called page.php. And for a single blog post would be single.php. And for your blog archive, it would be archive.php. Now that looks probably just the basics that we would require right now. So I'm just going to close out of them to keep it tidy. And okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to go into our header.php and create a standard HTML document. Now to do that, you would put doc type HTML, head, and then body. Okay, so I would just put that in the header, and then in the footer, we want to put body and then HTML. So that would be the closing tags of the HTML document. And in front page, what we want to do is we want to put PHP get header and PHP get footer. Okay, so on the front page of the website, we're calling the header.php and we're calling the footer.php. And within the footer, we want to put a script called WP Footer. And what WP Footer is a hook that plugins can plug into to add their JavaScript scripts at the bottom of your document automatically. And also in the header, we want to add a function called WP Head. And that is also used for hooks and adding in the standard WordPress scripts. And also if you download a plugin like Gravity Forms or something like that, Gravity Forms hooks into the head or the footer to add the scripts that it needs to run. We also want to put in the body class, which is the WordPress body class. And this will just allow WordPress to add its own classes to the body. So sometimes it adds in, like if you're looking at a page template, it will actually put page template in there, and that's all for you for your convenience. I won't go too in depth with that. So now that we've got the basics set up, we have our front page. If I type anything into here and just save it, and we go to our front page, which you can set by going to settings and reading, and you'll notice that I have home set as the home page. So my page that I've called home is the front page. You'll see that we have that text that I typed in there. And if we actually look at the source of the page, you'll notice that I'll look at it in incognito mode just to take away all the WordPress admin stuff. You'll notice that we have the HTML, the head, we have all these scripts, which are scripts that are added in by WordPress themselves. And you also have footer WP embed script, and these are all done by those two scripts, the WP head and the WP footer. Okay, so now that we have our header, our front page, our page, and our single page, then we can basically start using it. So one thing you want to do when you create your own theme is you want to enqueue scripts. So rather than say, oh, I have Bootstrap, I want to use Bootstrap in my theme, instead of just going directly into your header and doing link ref equals bootstrap.min.css rel equals style sheet or something similar, what you want to do is you actually want to you want to put it in the functions.php file, which I haven't shown you about yet. You need to create a new file called functions.php, and this will kind of be the file which you can add hooks into, and you can configure your theme however you want to. Okay. Now the basics of the functions page would be to enqueue your style sheets and also your scripts. So let's in our theme, let's install Bootstrap 4 and enqueue it. So let's go to the Bootstrap website, and we'll go to Bootstrap 4 and we will download it. Okay, so once you download Bootstrap 4, you want to go into what you could probably do is just drag the Bootstrap folder into your theme. So let's go to our theme and let's drag Bootstrap into there. And now that Bootstrap is installed or copied in there, I'm just going to rename it to Bootstrap. Coming to think about it, probably the better way to do things would be just to create a new folder, called CSS. And inside that, grab the Bootstrap, go into the Bootstrap folder and go to dist, which stands for distribution. Copy the CSS and JS folders, go back to your theme, paste that all in. You'll notice that it also creates a JS folder, and then just delete that Bootstrap folder because you don't need that anymore. And it's actually not letting me delete that. So I will just get out of Sublime Text for a second, and that could potentially be causing it. Yep. Okay. So now that we have the CSS and JS folders, I'm just going to open up my theme again. And you'll see CSS, it has your bootstrap files or your CSS files, and then your bootstrap JS files. So let's enqueue them now. So go into Sublime and go into functions.php, and let's open up the PHP tags, and we will do function load style sheets. Okay, I'm just calling it load style sheets. You can call it whatever you want. And inside that function, we want to register a style. So this will be WP register style, and style, it's a style sheet. And then we want to point it to where this CSS is located, which is in your themes directory. In WordPress, that's called the template directory URI. So let's do get template directory URI, and then dot, and then we will do /CSS, and then /bootstrap.min.css. And then there are a couple of other options that we can specify in this particular function. And I will take you to the WordPress site just to look at those and see what options there are. Let's do WordPress WP register style. Okay, so I'm just looking at the WordPress site on my other screen here. So this is the name of the style sheet. So you can call it whatever you want. You can call it my CSS or whatever you want, but I'm just calling it style sheet. Comma, this is the actual address of the style sheet on your server. And then after that, you have the option to add a version. So it could be, the dependent style sheet. So if this style sheet has another style sheet that it requires to load, otherwise, if you don't, then you just make it default as array, and then you also then do a comma. And then after that, you have the option to set a version, which you can just put false, unless you want to put a version. Then you could put 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever you want. And then media. So media is, I believe, a style sheet thing. So term for all or screen or handheld or print. If this style sheet was only to work when someone was to print it, you would obviously put print. But what we want to do is we just want to put all. Okay. And then we want to just enqueue the style. Okay, so you'll see that it's referring to this. It's enqueuing that specific style sheet. So if we save it now and we go back to our project and refresh it, if we look in the source of the page, you should see that we now have, we don't actually have it. So I'll just clarify what I've done. And yes, the problem is that we haven't added the function to actually run. So we have to do add action, which is this specific action. And we have to tell WordPress that we want to do WP enqueue scripts and then load style sheets. And if we refresh it now, we should see bootstrap.min.css get added there. Okay. So let's now refresh the page, and you won't even see anything. But if we now go to frontpage.php and we use bootstrap markup, so div container and div row, and let's just say div col, we'll do 2 columns, one left, one right, and I'll say left side and right side. You should see left side, right side. Okay, so we're using Bootstrap now. So that's enqueuing. Obviously, you want to enqueue your own style sheet as well. So if you just copy this, and we'll just call it, say, we'll change that to style, and we'll make this one, we'll call this one Bootstrap. And style will be in your main directory, so style.css. And let's refresh it now. Now, if I go into style.css and I just make the body black, it should come up, but let's just check why that's not working. So it is most likely my case. So I've done a hard refresh, which is Control F5, and if I refresh it now, it should come up as black, but it's actually not coming up as black still. So let's just see what we've done wrong here. That's because I am not actually looking at the front page by the looks of it. Or, no, that's not right either. What I'm doing is I am loading the style sheet before Bootstrap. So let's just change that around. Put Bootstrap first and put style second. And why that's happening is probably a good thing that it did happen. Is you have to take into consideration the position of where you load your scripts. If you load, say, Bootstrap after your style, Bootstrap styles will probably override your own style. So you always want to put your style sheet as the last script that you enqueue. Okay, so why do we enqueue? Well, we enqueue because it's obviously much cleaner. You're not going to have a million scripts in your HTML markup. And secondly, if you do use plugins that require access to maybe modify your CSS, say for example caching plugins, they can't detect the inline references to your style sheets. So it's always best to enqueue your style sheets. Now let's enqueue our scripts, JavaScript. So let's go into our new folder and we will go into our JS file, or JS folder, sorry. I'm getting all my terminology wrong tonight. In our JS folder, let's create a new file and we'll just call it scripts.js. Okay, and in there we want to, we won't do anything in scripts yet, but we want to enqueue scripts into the footer of our website. So we want to go into our functions file again, and we want to create a new function. And in there, let's call it function load.js. And then we want to WP register script. So WP register script. Let's just call it custom.js. And inside there, we want to get the template directory URI again. And we want to then point it to JS scripts.js. And then there are some functions or some options here as well. So let's go onto the WordPress site and see what this particular function allows us to do. Okay, so in this function, after we put in the name of the actual JS, how we want to identify it, and then the source or the URL or location of the script, we then have the option to add dependencies, which again we're just going to make blank. We'll just make it blank, and then we'll have version, which we'll just make it 1, and then we'll have the option to put it in the footer. So with adding it into the footer, it just asks us yes or no. So if you want it in the footer, just put true. If you don't want it in the footer, put false. But I'll just put true. And then I'll go WP enqueue script custom.js. And then we want to make sure that we also load the actual function. Enqueue scripts. And we'll call it reference load.js. Okay, let's refresh this and see if it actually works and I haven't done a PHP error. Okay, so I haven't. And if we go into my source and go to the bottom, let's load this in incognito so we can see just the basics. So if we go into incognito, we should see script.js here. There we go. And you'll see it's called version 1, and that's what we specified in functions.php as well. Cool. So now we have our CSS enqueued in the header, and we also have our script or JS enqueued in the footer, and you can obviously enqueue as many scripts as you want in the footer. And now let's go into our JS file, and what we'll do is we'll just do a small script to load when the page loads, just to make sure it works. So document ready function, and inside there we'll do alert test. Okay, and if we refresh it now, nothing happens. If we go into our console, it will say $ is not defined, and what that means is jQuery is actually not working on this theme. So that's another thing that we need to make sure that we enqueue into the functions.php file in order to use jQuery. So to do that, let's go back to our functions.php file, and we want to then enqueue jQuery. So there are a couple of ways to do this. I will show you the way that I use, and what that is just basically enqueuing the latest version of jQuery from the jQuery CDN. You can also download jQuery if you want to and just put it in your project, which, you know what, we'll do that. So let's go to the jQuery website and look for jQuery 3.1.1. And let's actually, no, we'll go to download jQuery. And let's download the compressed jQuery production. And it will load all the code up in this screen. So let's just copy it all and then go into our project, into our JS folder, and create a new file and save it in there. And we'll just call it jQuery 3.1.3.min.js. And just copy that. You can call it whatever you want, but I'm just going to call it that so we know what version it is by looking at it. And then go into your functions.php and let's load jQuery. So to do that, we want to do function, and we'll just call our function include jQuery. You can call it whatever you want again. And let's deregister. jQuery isn't loaded anyway, but we'll just deregister it to keep it just to keep it clean, in case there is a jQuery somewhere. Maybe WordPress is loading it in, but it's not. And then we'll do wp enqueue script jQuery, and let's then point it to our template directory. So get template directory URI dot and then JS, and then put in the name of the JavaScript file, and let's just do blank again, 1, and then true, which means it will go into the actual footer. And then we'll do add action wp enqueue scripts, and we'll call it jQuery. Okay, let's save that, and if that worked fine, you should notice that the alert will come up from jQuery, and it didn't. So let's go to our inspector and go into the console, and you see it just says $. It's not working. And again, I've made the mistake where I haven't made the function run. So let's just run include jQuery, and we'll refresh it again. Now you'll notice that that alert has come up, which means that jQuery is now working. Okay, so far I have shown you how to enqueue, to create the basic setup of a theme. I've shown you how to enqueue or to load style sheets through functions.php. I've also shown you how to load scripts and JavaScript and jQuery through functions.php as well. And now you'll notice that all it needs is your WP head and your WP footer to actually run those particular functions. So that these are essential. Now that's done, let's do a basic setup on the theme, just to show you how easy it is to edit. So within our style.css, I'm going to make the body background gray. And I'm going to also, I'm going to take away that JavaScript file. So let's just take out the alert so nothing happens. Let's refresh it again. I'll just do a hard refresh. Cool. And then in our header, let's add a header. And we'll go into our style.css. And look, for a lot of people, you might want to use Sass, and I use Sass myself, but just to keep this simple, I'm using normal CSS. Okay, so for the header, let's do background white, width 100%, and let's do height 100 pixels. And if we refresh it, you'll see the nice header at the top. If we go into our header and we give our header a class of sticky top, that will mean that if the actual page with Bootstrap, if the page scrolls down, that will stay stuck to the top, which is great. In our front page.php, let's just put a title called Welcome to my website. Okay. And within the container, we'll do PT5, PB5, which padding top 5, padding bottom 5. Guys, this is definitely not a design tutorial, so don't worry about that. Now, let's go onto a page and show content dynamically. Actually, on the front page, let's show content dynamically. So if we actually log into WordPress, and I'll sign in with my username and password, you have the option to go into pages, on your front page, and you want to be able to type information in here and click on update, and for that information obviously to come up on your front page. It doesn't right now, but let's make it happen. So let's go into our theme, into our frontpage.php file, and let's make, instead of welcome to my website, let's add some PHP code into here, which will determine the actual title of the page based on this. So we can call this whatever, welcome to my cool website, all right? And we'll update it. And then we'll go here and change this to PHP the title. Let's refresh it. There you go, welcome to my cool website. Then we want to tell WordPress that if there's anything inside this to actually show it. So to do that, I'm just going to copy this. Actually, no, I'll type it out. It's a bit long-winded, but PHP if have posts. So if we have posts, while we have posts, then show the post. And then we do PHP end while, end if, and then within that, it's kind of like a loop almost, PHP the content. Okay, let's refresh it and we should see the content there. So let's just go to a lorem ipsum generator and let's just basically get some content out of there and paste it into our WordPress site, to our front page, and then refresh our front page, and you should see our content comes up there now. Now, another thing we might want to do is we might want to create some extra pages on the website. So let's go to all pages, create a new page. Let's call test page, and we'll also create a page called contact us. Okay, and these pages exist in the back end of WordPress, which is cool, and we can actually edit them and add in whatever we want into there. So let's update that and then go to view the page, but the page is blank, and that's because we need to copy this stuff from the front page template and put it into the page.php template. And if we refresh it now, all the information should then come up. You can obviously edit each template individually, so you could add some extra stuff into this template, which will not reflect on the front page. Okay, so now that we have a test page and we also have a contact us page, which I'm just going to add content into as well. Let's grab this one. That's all that's all good, but you want to be able to dynamically show the links to those pages so people who are visiting can actually click between those pages. And to do that, WordPress has a function called the WordPress WP nav menu. So if we go to the WordPress site again and we do WP nav menu, there's a function which we can run in your template which will allow us to show menus. So let's go back into our WordPress theme. Oops. WordPress theme. Okay. And we will need to go to Appearance and click on Menus. But you'll notice here that we can't actually see menus. There's no function there that allows us to click into menus, and there's no link there. To add the ability for your template to use menus, you need to go into your functions.php and you need to do add theme support menus. Okay, so then we refresh it and you should see menus now. So let's create a menu. Let's call it top menu. And let's select those 3 pages that we have and add them to the menu and save the menu. We've saved the menu, that's cool, but it's still not there. There's still stuff we have to do. Now the first thing we want to do is we need to again go into our functions.php file, and we want to then create or specify a menu location. A menu location basically allows us to create menus and then create locations that are kind of like wherever you want these locations on your theme, you put in the code there, and then you can assign the menu to a specific location or multiple locations if you want to. So I'm going to go back into my functions.php file and I'm going to register some menu locations. We'll just create a top menu and a footer menu. So we'll do register nav menus, and then inside there we want to do array, and inside there we want to put let's call it top dash menu __ top menu as just kind of the label, and then we'll put theme, and then let's just copy that and put footer menu and change that to footer menu there. Okay, so if we refresh the page now, we should see 2 locations, top and footer. So let's assign this top menu, which I've called top menu conveniently, but it doesn't need to be called that, and save it. Now basically we have created a menu, assigned it to a location. Now we need to tell WordPress to display that specific menu location in our template. And to do that, we just need to go to our header.php, because what I'm going to do is put the actual menu in this white section here. So let's go into our header.php and let's add in this particular menu. Okay, so within the header tags, I want to create one called open up PHP tags and create a WP nav menu. And inside there, we want to do an array. And inside that array, we want to do theme location, and that's where we want to put top dash menu. So that is actually referring to this specific slug here. Okay, so top menu. You can assign a menu class if you want, but I won't right this second. But let's go back, refresh it, and we should see our 3 links come up now. Okay, and now that our links are there, we can go back to our header.php file and put it within a container. So this will fit within the container within Bootstrap. And we can also give it a row. Actually, we don't need a row. We'll just put it within the container. And if we refresh it, you'll see that it's now contained within that container. You can obviously add styles. So let's just do menu class equals navigation. Let's just call it navigation. And if we now refresh, you'll notice that the UL or the unordered list is called navigation. So you can then style that however you want to. Basically go into your style sheet navigation, and style from there. So actually, I'm so used to Sass that standard CSS is kind of painful for me. So I definitely recommend Sass if you're going to do any styling. I'm not going to do any styling here because that defeats the purpose of this tutorial. I just want to show you the basic fundamentals of creating a WordPress theme. So as you can see here, we now have a functional basic WordPress theme which has links, and it also has the ability to enqueue your styles and your JavaScripts in the header and footer. The one last thing I'm going to show you, because I could go on forever, would be featured thumbnails. Actually, no, we'll do two things. We'll do a blog post and we'll also do the featured thumbnails. So let's go and create a post. So we've got the hello world post there, but we'll just trash that and we will add a new post. So let's call it test blog post. We'll go and get some lorem ipsum stuff again. And we'll just copy that and paste it. Okay. And we will create a category called blog. And we'll publish it. Now we have this blog post. You'll notice the date or the permalink looks like that. Let's just change that to go to permalinks, make it post name. That way it's more SEO friendly. So if we go to post, you'll see that it now looks like that. Okay, so we have a blog post. Obviously we can't look at the blog post yet because it's a blank page. If you want to make it really simple, just grab the page content in your page.php and paste it into single.php. And then you should see that blog post there. And it also has all the information there that you typed in that particular blog post. Now with archives, so you would obviously want to see all your blogs in a specific archive that you can look through. And that is determined by archive.php. So I'm going to paste this into archive.php and then take out the content, because what's going to happen is if I leave it like that, and we go to posts and we go to categories and click into view blog, you'll notice that yes, the blog post does come up, but it's got everything that's in the blog post. You don't want that. You want it to show the excerpt. We also want to put we want to change this specific title to the archives title and not the actual title of the blog post. So for this, we just change it to single cat title and refresh and save, and you'll notice that it will come up as blog now, and there'll also be just an excerpt, so a cutout of all the content on that particular post. So let's add an h3 PHP the title. Because these tags are actually a loop, they're actually looping through every post within the blog category. You should see the title of this specific post, and then you should be able to click into it. So let's create a link to that specific post, a href php the permalink, which is a link that it automatically knows to go to where to go for that specific blog. So click here, or read. Let's make it read more, and do class equals button success, which is a class for Bootstrap. So if I click into it, it actually takes me to that blog post. So let's try it. Let's add a new blog post. Grab some more content here. And we'll call it another blog post. And we'll assign it to the blog category and publish it. You'll notice that's come up as well. And within the loop, if you want to make it look nice, just give it a card and then a card body. These are Bootstrap classes, of course. Just refresh it and maybe put a margin bottom 4 between each post. And there you go. So we have blog posts. You can click into one, read more. You can click into another and read more. And in each blog post that you most usually see in WordPress, that there's some sort of featured image area there, and here there's not. So because we've created this theme from scratch, a lot of the stuff isn't enabled. To enable post thumbnails is what they're called. Add theme support, post thumbnails. And then if we refresh it, you should see on the right hand side, featured image. Okay, and then you can just add a featured image. So I'm just going to go into Google Images and just type in, I don't know, happy person. And let's just grab this picture, save it onto our computer and drag it into WordPress. Save it, and now that featured image is actually assigned to our post. If we click into our post, it's actually not there. So why is that? Well, the reason is obviously we need to call it into our theme. We need to call the post thumbnail so it displays. One really cool feature that WordPress has is that it can cut down your picture that you upload into many different sizes, so that you may upload a 2 megabyte image, but you only want to display at 500 width by 500 width. You don't want it to load a 2 megabyte image. You want it to cut it down to 500 by 500 and therefore save on the size and also make the loading speed of the website faster. So firstly, let's go into our functions.php and create a couple of images. So or add image sizes. So we'll go add image size and we'll call it smallest, and then we'll make it 300 by 300. And we will make it hard crop. So true or false here will determine whether when the image is uploaded that WordPress will crop it exactly to 300 by 300, or it will keep it at 300 wide and maybe allow it to stay the same height. So it won't actually hard crop the parts of the image, but we're going to hard crop it. And then we'll also make one called largest. And we'll make that 800 by 800. So now we have two different sizes of images. And let's go back to our blog single page. And on top of the content, we want to do a couple of if statements. So firstly, we're just going to do, we're only going to do one if statement. If has post thumbnail. So we only want it to show or come up if there is an actual post thumbnail assigned to the post. And then if there is, then we want to do an image, and inside that image we want to do PHP the post thumbnail URL and assign it to smallest. No, we'll make it largest. So that's the actual name of the image that we created before. We'll give it a class of image fluid because that's in Bootstrap. It makes it responsive automatically. And let's now refresh the page. So the image does come up, but it doesn't come up to the size that we want it. It doesn't come up to 800 by 800. It comes up at the same size that that particular person that image of that person is when I uploaded it. The reason is because if you add an image or an image size to your functions.php and you already have existing images, you need to actually regenerate the images in WordPress. But to make things simpler, I'm just going to find another image of a happy person and just go for a large, really large image, or as large as possible, I guess. Let's get this kid. Save the image, and we'll go and change the featured image to this kid's photo. And actually that's a really small photo as well, so I should probably find something that's a bit larger. I'll just do that. Let's 2 megapixels. Okay, alright. Okay, that didn't work clearly. Let's just click on this and go to that specific page and see if we can download the image off there. Yeah, cool. So let's download that. And we will assign this image of this lady. And it's 2560 by 1440. So it's huge. We'll set it as a featured image and update it. And now that we've uploaded this image straight away, after we've made the settings for the new image sizes, it will automatically create them. And if you already have existing images, you want to download a plugin called Force Regenerate Thumbnails, and then just regenerate the thumbnails, and then it will create all those new image sizes. So if we refresh it now, you'll notice that it should be a specific size. So let's go and have a look. Yeah, 800 by 800, as you can see. And if you go back to your single.php, if you want it to be the smaller one, you could just change it to smallest, and that will actually show the smaller size image that you requested. So what you could do is you could make the actual blog post show the larger image, okay? And then you could go into the actual category, so where it shows all the posts. So let me just add that onto our menu at the top, so it's easy to get into. We'll go into our blog, and you'll notice we have 2 blog posts. We'll go into our archive.php, and we will add that if statement again for the post thumbnail, and we'll make it smallest. And let's refresh now. So that image of that lady should be there. And then if we go into test blog post and we add another image, so let's just say this child, but the image isn't going to come up right because the image is smaller than the sizes we have asked WordPress to resize to. So you will notice that that won't work. That's why we need to actually use images which are larger than the sizes we specify. But as you can see, that's how it works. So when you click into there, the image comes up, and you click into here, and then the larger image comes up there. Okay, so that's basically the end of my simple WordPress theme tutorial. There's obviously a lot more that you can learn, but hopefully this has given you a rough idea of how to create your own theme, and gives you the opportunity to muck around and try and learn new things. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I really hope that this tutorial has been of some benefit to you, and have a lovely day or night wherever you are in the world. Thank you.